From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. Close like no other. I've known you as a mother, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. For all my life you have been faithful. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Thank you all so much for being here today, and welcome to the Mary Ward Symposium. I feel more than ever, especially with the upcoming merger, we are standing in and witnessing such profound Loreto historical moments. I imagine Mary Ward smiling down, so moved by the path she forged just 416 years ago. Today we celebrate this path. We highlight her path and recognize those that are continuing to pave this road we walk together. The Mary Ward Symposium honors the bold spirit and transformative vision of Mary Ward and the Loretto Sisters, highlighting their lasting influence on education, social justice, and faith. Last year, Sister Brenda pulled me into her office and said, "Megan, I have an idea." She will elaborate on her idea for the Spirit of Mary Ward Award a bit later in the program. But ideas, or perhaps sparks, or flames of the Holy Spirit, if you will, are what have made the global Mary Ward family change makers, social justice warriors, and compassionate advocates for the communities in which we all serve. That Mary Ward spark is what has been deeply instilled in our companions, in staff such as myself, in friends of our sisters, and everyone gathered in this room today. We carry that legacy, and that legacy and path are what we will learn more about today. Before we begin with prayer and lunch, I'd like to acknowledge a few people in this room and spotlight some welcome guests. So please give a wave when you're mentioned. First, our IBVM leadership team, Sister Helen Timothy, Sister Mary Carton, and Sister Yolanda Mendoza in from Arizona. All IBVM sisters throughout this room. We welcome our keynote speaker, who joins us all the way from Ireland, Sister Elizabeth Cotter. We are joined by Sister Carmen Diston, IBVM, Canadian Province Leader, and Sister Yvonne Hunter, former Canadian Province Leader in from Canada. And we are blessed to be joined by our friends from the Wheaton Franciscan community including a member of their leadership team, Sister Mary Lou Wirtz. I would also like to thank our ever so generous sponsors who have helped make this event possible today. Gold sponsor, David Misichia. Silver sponsors, Eileen Barton, Rosemary Kerrigan, Helen McCullough, Jennifer and David Schmitz, the Wheaton Franciscan community, and several anonymous benefactors, with one in particular donating their contribution to Mary Ward Center. And thank you to everyone who's tuning in with us via live stream. Let us begin with prayer from Sister Arlene Ashak.
Modern day spirituality calls us to wake up. That music certainly helps us in the process. And it puts us in the presence of a God of movement, a God who dances, a God who continually invites us into the dance, the movement. We are here today to honor the spirit of Mary Ward, who certainly must have danced with her God. So let us begin our prayer by allowing ourselves to wake up, by allowing ourselves to be more consciously present to the God who is inviting us at this very moment to share the divine rhythm. And so in the name of the God who creates us, the God who redeems us, and the God who inspires us, we are here today to acknowledge and honor the ongoing spirit of Mary Ward, a spirit full of joy and movement outward to help others. Ours has to be a prayer of thanksgiving to this God of ours for creating such a dynamic, a remarkably creative and courageous woman as Mary Ward. And thanksgiving too for her contagious spirit that has spread to so many through the years and continues to spread. Each one of us here is in some way an expression of her spirit, and that's the gift to the universe. Her charism of integrity, justice, and freedom, lived out in joy, is carried on through us in a world that is so much in need of the Spirit. We pray then, asking this dancing God of ours to continue radiating the Spirit through us and to help us draw from the Spirit, the courage to face the horrific issues of our times as she faced the issues of her times. O God of creativity, whose creativity exuded through Mary Ward, help us each to be creative in our own way of radiating that spirit, letting the dynamic vibrations of her charism ripple out through us. Mary Ward participated with the movement of God, catching God's rhythm in her to become the expression of God she was meant to be. Our prayer is that we, each one, are receptive to the rhythm of God in us, helping us to be who we are meant to be. O divine source, Mary Ward reflected and radiated your spirit so beautifully in her time. Help us to do the same in our time. In a world so in need of hope, help us to radiate as she did, both hope and joy. Help us to embody her charism and continue your rhythm of goodness that she captured so well. And the people say, Amen.
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. This is the day that the Lord has made.
Good afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sister Mary Carton, but I think I know most of you. Thank you very much for being here to celebrate this special day with us. I hope you've enjoyed your meal and your rich conversations. And now, we come to the heart of this gathering. honoring the spirit of Mary Ward, and welcoming our guest speaker, Sister Elizabeth Cotter. Like Mary Ward, today's honorees live the gospel with a quiet conviction and not claiming any kind of heroism at all, just faith in action. Mary Ward once said, "Don't let the foolish of the world convince you that virtue is difficult. Remember, my yoke is easy and my burden is light." You'll see in Sister Liz and in many around you, looking at your tables right now, see in them a commitment to justice and a joyful spirit of service. You'll witness Mary Ward's charism, freedom, justice, joy, and integrity in the life and the work of Sister Liz, as well as our honorees. Sister Liz, Elizabeth Cotter, IBVM formerly, is a woman with one foot always in the air. See Mary Ward over here? Always ready to go where the need is greatest. For 27 years in education, both as teacher and principal at the secondary level, were just the beginning of her career. She continues to serve on educational and financial boards. She is a canon lawyer, and as a canon lawyer, she's worked with over 130 religious communities, including ours. And that's when I first met Sister Liz. I was having a little trouble with canon law and our constitutions. And she convinced me in pretty short order that canon law is there to protect us, not to limit us. That helped me get through a rough patch at the meeting. And then she has helped sisters worldwide to have that understanding that canon law is with us, not against us. She's made history too. In 2006, she founded a canon law program in Dublin, I do believe. But who was her first student? None other than the President of Ireland, Mary McAleese. Liz is also the first woman as Vicar of Religious and on the Bishop's Council in Ireland. In 2015, Sister Liz was appointed to be postulator for the cause of Mary Ward. That is, tasked with building the case for Mary Ward's sainthood. I was skeptical again, and she won me over again with compelling conversations rooted in history, mission, and the need in this world for modern role models. So it is my joy to introduce this tireless, faith-filled, and fearless woman, a true daughter of Mary Ward, Sister Elizabeth Cotter.
It really is an immense privilege for me to be here. I've met our American sisters, Canadian and North American sisters, on several occasions, and I had the privilege of living in Canada for 5 years while I was doing my canon law. But my first introduction to the US province of our congregation was in 1985, when we were celebrating 400 years of Mary Ward. And we had these busloads of dynamic, vibrant women descended on our province. And we heard, "These are your American sisters." And I will never forget the energy and the vitality and the commitment to the charism and the love and the belief in Mary Ward. And that memory has stayed with me and has been reinforced every time I have met with any of you. And not only you, but your co-workers and all those who have lived with you, who have worked with you. And indeed, in a gathering like this, we're honoring all kinds of people, including our Franciscan sisters with whom we work so well here in this premises. I just want to say at the beginning that I'm very aware that there are many here listening to me who know far more about Mary Ward than I do. So I didn't see it as my task to give a kind of an in-depth presentation about Mary Ward and her life and her story. I'm focusing instead on looking at this woman who has inspired all of us for all these centuries, a woman whose life began in difficulty, who wasn't accepted by the church for 400 years, but somehow the Institute survived. So what does that say about her and about us? And I was very consoled. I always look at the reading for the day. And one of the readings for today from Corinthians, it says, "The love of Christ overwhelms us." And I looked at the news today and I saw invasions, bombings, strife, murder, mayhem, people fighting with each other. And the love of Christ overwhelms us. And that reading went on to say, "Do not judge anyone by the standards of the flesh, because anyone in Christ, all of us, is a new creation that God has reconciled to himself, not holding our faults against us, but loving us as we are." And the reading finished with that lovely sentence, "We are ambassadors for Christ, God appealing to us to be reconciled to God." And I said to myself, what a message for today. But that's the story of the life of our founder, a woman who was able to reconcile opposition and hatred and being imprisoned and vilified, and yet say, "You, my followers, love the church." So what I'm going to attempt to do in the next short while is to look at this Mary Ward, woman of vision and inspiration. And I think it's really important for all of us to recognize that we are heirs of a very long tradition. Mary Ward going back to 1585, and Teresa Ball, the Irish woman educated by the Institute in York, who brought her vision and her inspiration to Ireland, and from there all over the world. So when you look at her, who is this woman? She had an amazingly difficult story because she grew up at a time when to be Catholic was to be vilified, to be imprisoned. So you could not practice the faith openly, what we call the penal laws in England and indeed in Ireland at the same time. But she grew up in a family where there were very strong women, because many of the men folk were on the run from the authorities or were in prison. So Mary Ward grew up with strong women, the stories of her grandmother, her mother, her sisters, the families she went to live with when they were trying to escape the authorities. And this young woman had only got an experience of Catholicism, such as was told to her by the stories in her family. And then sometimes a visiting priest who had to be hidden might come and give them a little more information. But she had this idea that She wanted to do something for Catholic girls. And it all came together when she felt God's call to religious life. You couldn't do it in England, so she had to go off to the continent. And of course, at that time, the only form of religious life was the enclosed form in the monastery. And she tried that out. And she was trying to say, how do I help these English Catholic girls to survive, to hold on to the faith? Her family wanted her to marry, because if Catholics married Catholics, maybe they could support one another in the faith. But she soon discovered that life wasn't for her, as you know. And she, through a long process of praying to God and discerning and trying to find the way, she eventually found a different form of religious life, one where women are not stuck in behind the walls of monasteries, but they go out, they're free to bring the gospel, help the people around them. And of course, this was going to be her downfall because women didn't do these things. In fact, at this very period in Europe, there was a debate going on in theological circles as to whether a woman even had a soul. Imagine, that was the world she lived in. But she came to understand that the school was a way of preserving and developing the faith. So the school became a kind of a tool for evangelization. And of course, that meant women taking charge of themselves, not wearing a habit, going out into the marketplace, so to speak. And this was not accepted. So this woman dies a failure. Opposition everywhere. The group disbanded. But this failure, marked in 1633 when the Institute was suppressed, it resulted in all of the 200 members at the time leaving or going to other places, except for a tiny few. Few sisters remained in England and a few sisters remained in Germany. And yet, this year, we celebrate 380 years since this woman died. And she is in 42 countries. And the family of Mary Ward is now no longer just sisters, but it's all of you, sisters, friends, associates, collaborators, teachers, parents, students, whatever. How did this happen? As well as the faithful few, there were some bishops, especially in Germany, who supported the group. Now, of course, if you think of the context of the times, Germany had been divided by the Protestant Reformation. So you had Catholic princes fighting against Protestant princes, and it was some of the Catholic princes who were fighting with the authorities that supported Mary Ward. You know, we kind of lived and worked through opposition at every level. So the idea continued, but it actually took 4 centuries for Mary Ward to be recognized as our founder. How did that happen, that the Institute could survive for 400 years? Well, I suppose part of it is in what did she leave us that kept us going? And her very last words to us are words with which you're all familiar: to love the poor, persevere in the same, let your vocation be constant, efficacious, and loving. Now, she was dying. She had been called a heretic. She had been excommunicated from the church. And still, this is what she can tell us. So when we see the kind of heritage we have, the question then becomes, how do we find her inspiration, or where is her inspiration today? And I just want to look briefly at 3 areas. A little bit about her life, her values, which we're all familiar with: justice, sincerity, truth, freedom, and joy. And then just have a look at some of the things that were said about her. So I think it's important, and I know in my life it has been important, to come to terms with the fact that Mary Ward literally had to find her way. And I spent many years in school, and I watched and I helped my students find their way. So it's a common experience for us to find our way. But she was also a woman of very clear values. She believed in the value and power of women. Now think of the century in which she was born. This is a truly remarkable belief. She had a commitment to her native England for all of her life because she could see the faith was practically wiped out. It only survived in small little pockets with families like hers in the north of England. But the negative things she experienced never obliterated her belief. So her way of life and her value system, it has survived to the 21st century. And when she talked all those years ago about what women could do, I'm sure she would be the last to believe it could have taken so long. And we can look at your countries and my country, where we've made so much progress in relation to women. And yet, when the chips are down, there isn't really true equality, certainly in my country. And we certainly don't have it in the church. And we have wide swathes of the world where girls aren't even allowed to go to school. So why did the charism survive? Because the message is so relevant and it hasn't been accomplished yet. So just a couple of her own words that I personally find very inspiring. The one about the women. Now, there's a context for this for me. Women in time to come will do much. The Irish province in the Courage to Move initiative, we founded a mission in Sudan, South Sudan. And we went into an area where girls were valued in terms of how many cows they could bring in at 12 years of age when they were sold off in marriage. So we went into a culture where you said, well, are the girls going to be allowed to stay in school? How are we going to manage this? And yet we have, in 15 years, we have succeeded, not without great difficulty at times, in holding on to students and in enabling them to be educated. And part of it was because we got the local chief on side. But Sister Orla and her companions, they've had to struggle against, it's usually the uncles in the Dinka culture in Sudan, you know, they would kidnap the girls, they would, when they came home for holidays, they wouldn't let them back to school, all this kind of thing in this day and age. But the wonderful thing, 2 years ago, past pupils of that school who were living in a small little place called Awil up on the border of Sudan, 9 hours away from Rumbek. Past pupils came back to Rumbek and they said, we want you to do in Awil what you've done in Rumbek for girls. We want to make women in time to come do much in our area too. And the result of that, we brought them to Ireland, they spoke to us, and we decided as a province, yes, we're going to do this. The power of the charism and the absolute certainty, it's still necessary, and we have to do what we can to work it out. So Mary Ward, originally, the origin of that statement came when a Jesuit dismissed them as, oh, they are but women, just give them a while, this idea will die out. And Mary Ward was so incensed by that, that she wrote actually 3 major talks about the value, the power, and the dignity of women. And that's the sentence we have never forgotten. And when I see the graduation pictures from schools that we have in many parts of the world and other ministries, you often see that banner, women in time to come will do much. That's just a modern representation of it. Then the values that she handed down to us. She actually wrote a lovely document. She'd had a vision, and she wrote about what kind of qualities somebody who wanted to follow her way of life needed to have. And these were the ones she named: justice, sincerity, truth, and freedom. Now, the joy one has been added in recent years. And Sister Jane Livesey, the previous general leader of the Congregation of Jesus, whom we're joining shortly, she believes that it was IBVM Loreto that brought the charism of joy, which is definitely there in Mary Ward, to the forefront of our lives in ministry. So joy has been added into the list. The justice, okay, I'll just go quickly through these. The freedom, all of her sayings are backing up the values she had. Freedom, show yourself as you are, be what you show yourself. The sincerity one. We must not only love our neighbors as ourselves, but behave as though we did. And don't bury your talents, which God lent to you to be spent in his service. You just have to take any one of these and reflect on it, and you understand the value for yourself and for those you deal with. And I love this one. If people give you trouble, meet them with friendly words, for you will soften both yourself and them. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could make this a motto in all our parliaments and congresses and all these places throughout the world, my own included? Yeah. And then the words of advice, work with great joy, tranquility, and magnanimity. Work, do your best. It's not about results, and it's not about conclusions. And then a couple of things that were said about her. Now, please note, it took until 1921, but Cardinal Bourne, a famous cardinal in Westminster, he was very clear on what the educational purpose of our institute, Mary Ward's charism, did for the world. So he said the very existence of modern educational and charitable congregations was made possible by the supernatural foresight she saw way ahead of her time, the heroic perseverance she never gave up, and the sufferings of Mary Ward. And her sufferings weren't only physical sufferings, but the worst sufferings were the mental sufferings that she had to endure because of the way she was treated by the church. And then in 1951, Pius XII, that incomparable woman. Now remember, the bull that suppressed the institute, that called her a heretic, that excommunicated her, is still there when these things are said by the Pope. John Paul called her a pioneer, and also she's listed as one of the women that he talked about he talked about the manifestations of the feminine Jesus. That this is of the feminine, feminine genius, You see, this is, and I have to say this as a canon lawyer, the change happens so slowly in our church and in our world. But as a canon lawyer, one of our teachers, he used to say to us, he said, when you're a canon lawyer, you look at the little shifts and movements. And if you look back on the last 60 years, the church has moved, okay, in tiny baby steps, but she has moved. And things have happened, and right up to Pope Francis, they were changing what they were saying about what women could and couldn't do. And even though they're tiny baby steps and we seem to think we're getting nowhere, these things really are huge shifts in the life of the church, which takes forever to move things on, as long as it doesn't take another 400 years. But anyway. Teresa of Kolkata, who spent 20 years with us in Rathfarnham first and then in India, she talked about Mary Ward's gift, God's gift to the church. And then most beautiful experience in Mary Ward Week last year, where the Anglican Archbishop of Osbaldwick, he gave a powerful talk on Mary Ward, and he said, we need her example, her witness, and we can certainly learn from her fearlessness. So this woman today is living in all 5 continents, 42 countries, in our new foundations, and in the family of Mary Ward worldwide. And here I have to give a special word to our North American Mary Ward family, because you were the first in our branch of the Institute to include people who were not sisters as members of the family of Mary Ward. And you did this years before some of our countries took the same initiative. So it's a huge tribute to your understanding of the charism in this country, the way you broadened it out, because certainly nothing in Mary Ward's life talks about being a little small exclusive group. It's always about the bigger picture. So I always say hats off to North America when I think about this. And then it's expanding further in this particular year, because as you probably know, we're having a vote on the 31st of July to vote to join the original branch of Mary Ward's Institute, but it's not going to come into effect until the 4th of November. And that's an extremely significant date for IBVM Loreto, because it's the anniversary of Teresa Ball's going to and opening that house in Rathfarnham in Dublin, from which all of us have come. So when you talk about Mary Ward Loreto Foundations, from the Irish branch, we spread out all over the world, Europe, Asia, all those countries, Africa, all those countries, America, South and North, and Australia. And if you look at what we're joining into, it's going to expand us considerably. They were based mainly in Asia. Some of the countries aren't where we are. There are 2 countries in Africa. They're very strong in South America, and they were very strong in Europe, of course, coming from those original German sisters who survived. So we're talking about a huge group. And my question then is, how does the spirit and the ethos live on today? Well, I've only got to come into a group like this to know it's there and alive and thriving. What might inspire the leader? Now, by that, I mean any one of us. If we're the guardians of the charism, what might inspire us? And then how do we transmit the values? Well, traditionally, we did it in our schools, and that's still a major work in many of our countries. And our original vision of school came from the Jesuit model for boys. And Mary Ward wanted the same kind of experience to be given to girls. Now, again, remember the times she's living in? So the curriculum from the beginning has been this wide, holistic approach. So all the subjects, whether it's arts, languages, science, music, art, all of the math, science subjects, and then JPIC works, they were all in the original vision. And when I was a student of education doing my higher diploma in UCD in 1975, the professor of history came in one day and he said, listen to this. And he read out a curriculum, and the curriculum had everything on it, all these subjects, and a subject called heraldry. I wondered, had our crest come out of that? And he said, what era is this from? So there were 635 of us in the theatre, and they were guessing all kinds of things. He says, no, He says, Loreto Abbey Rathfarnham, 1829. 1829. And why I'm telling you that is, in 2022, we commissioned a historian to write the story of Teresa Ball and all the foundations around the world where she had gone to with the Mary Ward vision and charism. And she concluded that the same educational system, values, and approach could be found no matter where in the world you visited IBVM, Mary Ward Loreto Foundation. So the continuity is absolutely astounding. You can ask yourselves, where do you see, how is Mary Ward portrayed in the family in Chicago? And just for my short few days here, everywhere I go, I see Mary Ward pictures, I see sayings, I see value systems, I see references to Mary Ward Week, the prayers and the liturgy. The charism is alive and vibrant and thriving because of the way you live it. So I can say this with absolute confidence. You are the face of the Mary Ward Loreto ethos in your environment today. You, every one of you. It used to be a time when it was sisters. That day is long gone. We are so much richer now because of all of you. You are the supporter of the vision and ethos in a very unique way. And when I think of you here in the US, where you were out of the schools now for many reasons, but look at all the other areas in which you're involved. And this is all living that Mary Ward charism that's been handed down to us. And I came across this beautiful statement recently. There was the present headmistress of the Loreto Grammar School in Altrincham in England. She was asked to do the keynote speech for Osbaldwick this year. And she wrote to several past pupils. And one of them, who was a girl in her 40s now, she wrote back and she said, Mary Ward is a modern day influencer, an influencer of the leader and the follower. Now, for a neophyte like me, you know, technology and Mary Ward and influencers are a little bit, I have to learn what they mean. But I talk to my nieces and nephews, I know what an influencer is. And that's how she saw her today. A young woman that's been out of the system for many years because the impact of what she got when she was in touch with the Mary Ward charism is alive and thriving in her. So how would you describe the Mary Ward Loreto woman today? The living face of the charism, have to say that, and the supporter of the vision. Wanted to repeat that, okay? So the challenge then for you and for me and for all of us who profess to love and live this charism, can I be the leader who transmits that vision to the next generation? Can I? Where do I get help? I just have to read some of her words. Cherish God's vocation in you, whatever that call is. And whatever that call is, let it be constant. Stick with it. Let it be efficacious. Let it affect the people around you. But above all, let it be loving. And that you can feel that in the air in a gathering like this. And the message to be passed on from her dying words, loving the poor, sticking with it, live, die, and rise with the poor. And then there's a little message there for her religious followers as well. So where do we find her in this 21st century world? In schools everywhere, with the migrants. Well, when I wrote this, it was a different story. The migrants on the US-Mexican border were in difficulty now, the way we understand this, not only in your country, but in mine as well. Working in places like a diocese in Buenos Aires, or with Muslim women in Morocco, or studying, or working in social services, or with a very small group of CJ women working in Ukraine. We've people in legal work for the foundation of our schools in places like Spain and Ireland and Italy. Pastoral work in Cuba, Romania, spiritual work in Myanmar, spreading Mary Ward in Timor-Leste, chaplaincy in the Philippines, social work with refugees in Germany. And in Ireland, a huge part of our work is still supporting our lay people in our 31 schools. So what I'm trying to say is that the vision and the inspiration has spread in ways that Mary Ward herself could not have imagined. And so when I was asked to take on this task of being the postulator for her cause, I had a particular mission: get this woman canonized. So I attacked it with vim and vigor and gave it my best shot. And then I run up against the system in the church, and I have to take a deep breath. But what I have found today, people from places we were never in as an institute write to me looking for help. Sometimes people with mental health issues, or concerns for loved ones, or healing from sickness, or people who are dying for babies, can't have them, difficult relationships, sometimes thanksgiving for favors received. In other words, people see Mary Ward as someone who can help them with their needs, whatever those needs are. And just a few examples. So far, there's 17 women have had babies following saying the Mary Ward prayer, doing the novena. People who were told they could never have babies. For example, this little dote is called Vanya. Her mother is an Indian lady who was at school with us in Lucknow, the other side of India. And for 10 years, she couldn't have the baby, and she was heartbroken, and so was her husband. And she was at the 175th anniversary of our Indian province, and she was in the chapel crying. There were thousands of people on the campus that day. But the woman who saw her crying was a sister who had taught her when she was a child over in Lucknow many years before. And when she heard what was the problem, she gave her the Mary Ward novena, and she said, pray to Mary Ward. Now that was in January of 2018. And then in May, I get this anonymous email from this woman. And she told me her story, and she said, I want to tell you, I'm now pregnant. And I was like the midwife. I accompanied her for all those months, and there were ups and downs. And when that baby was born, the consultant said to her, you should never have had that baby. Your womb is in such a dreadful condition. So that baby was called Vanya, which means God's answer. And she's now, I met her last year, she's now 7 years of age. And then our latest babies are these little triplets with an English mother and an Indian dad, but they live in England, in Manchester. Again, doctors say you can't have children, but God doesn't always follow what doctors say, thank God. And then just a few, a 17-year-old girl in Argentina who had multiple organ failures. She shouldn't have lived, but she did. And it was because her mother was a past pupil. Sorry. But after 10 years, praying constantly to Mary Ward, it took a long time, but she's now working and has recovered. Things like that. A little boy in Peru who was in one of our schools, who had a virus that attacked all his organs, and he was given up as nothing can be done. And he's alive and well and back at school now. My very first, what I call miracle, came from a woman in the United States, a woman in her 50s, whom the doctor said would never walk again. And that woman defied all the odds. And I'm hoping to be able to talk to her, even if it's by Zoom, before I go back. Then in Ireland, a woman with cancer who was healed. Then stories of faith and belief. I experience this all the time because people are always asking me to pray. So we've developed this global Mary Ward prayer list, and our American sisters are superb at praying for all those needs. And I know that because people like Anne Heisey, if I have the right pronunciation, sends me the odd email telling me, keep going. We're praying for all these people. And I appreciate it so much. So from 2015, I had this specific task, get the evidence to make Mary Ward blessed. So I needed a miracle, and we were actually able to find one. Now, I have to tell you, I had at that time 52 cases where people said that they had been cured through the intercession of Mary Ward. And that's real for those people. But at the moment, the church requires medical evidence for a miracle. And certainly in parts of the world, medics aren't really good about giving us these kind of proofs, because they're loath to say that it wasn't science that cured a person. So I worked through them all until I found one. I kept coming back to this one. So we have a case where a woman had a brain bleed, and the evidence, which was substantiated by experts brought in that field, but 7% of people to whom this particular thing happened, only 7% survive. And of that 7%, all of them have other issues, paralysis, unsteadiness, all kinds of issues. But this woman was back working in 3 weeks. And it was because of, we were able to prove the concentrated prayer to Mary Ward by so many people. And that miracle had to go through the tribunal in the country where the miracle happened. We've gotten through every single stage. And we're stuck now for the last couple of years because the priest in charge has so many other jobs, he can't finish putting our case together. And it's a cause of great frustration to me. But what I want to say to you is that we're on the road. And I know, because I've been in and out to the Holy See about this, and they won't interfere with the bishop in his diocese. But I know that once we get it out of the place it's in, that Rome will speed up the process. So we keep waiting, and the waiting continues, and I'm not particularly patient myself. So I come back to this saying of Mary Ward time and time again, that God has his time for everything. And that's one of the hardest lessons I have had to learn. It's God's time, not my time. But God has his time for everything, is what she said. And then this lovely other sentence, when I finish business, so whatever it is I'm at, I go to find myself in God. And so we come full circle, back to a woman whose belief in God and in God's direction was so strong that nothing was able to knock her away from what she believed in. That belief was so strong, it was communicated so well, that it survived 400 years of no recognition in the church, and we couldn't call her founder. And yet, not only did the mission continue, but it has expanded beyond all our imagining. And I now am in the fortunate position of being given a task to do where I see how the vision and inspiration of this woman is alive and thriving right throughout the world in places we never even heard of. So in one way, it doesn't really matter to me whether the church finishes off this process or not. But in another way, it does, because as Mary said when she was introducing me, we know from Cardinal Amato in Rome that the church needs the witness of people like Mary Ward. And friends, if you look at today's news, you can say to yourself, we have never needed her message, her vision, her inspiration more than we need it now. Thank you. Thank you very much. Megan did ask me, would I take questions? I don't know, is there still time for that? I'm very happy. If not, that's okay. So I don't know who's managing time or.
Okay. And who would like to ask a question first?
Or a comment or a query, doesn't have to be a question.
Liz, I have a vested interest in this, but in your presentation, you did not mention our presence at the United Nations.
Yes.
Is that significant?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, yeah. I was only giving a snapshot of where we're at. And I suppose I have to admit to a certain disillusionment with the United Nations at the moment, because some countries have a veto. So things that all the other countries want to happen, they're not allowed to do it. But our presence in the United Nations is extremely significant because we're working all the time to change things. And that's often all we can do. The system, political systems can overwhelm us and drive us crazy. And if you think we've got to work at that, then we get nothing done. So we go back and we do the little things that we can do. And the United Nations has shown our involvement there, how much has happened. Like, they have informed all the members of the Institute. We're so much more aware. And we thank all our sisters who've been involved. And thank you, Yvonne. I should have had them in. I remember the next time. Thank you.
For canonization, do they always require a medical miracle? Because I was thinking, the fact that we're alive as an institute after all these years, that's a miracle.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But it has to be a medical one, huh?
Well, up to recently, that has been the case. And we have argued that argument about our very survival. I mean, if that's not a miracle, what is? Do you know? And when I think of people are made saints by Vox Populi, I mean, look what happened with John Paul. And certainly were no miracles there. It was Vox Populi. When you look at, there's a young, he's of Italian and English extraction, Carlo Acutis, and he has flown through, and I have represented the fact you could not have put him through the process that you are subjecting us to. So, a little bit of, I kind of worry about that. But I was talking to Yvonne, who was talking to somebody who suggested that maybe they're rowing back on that need for a miracle. But when I started the cause in 2015, the requirement was a miracle, a medical miracle. And that's what made it so hard, because so many doctors won't give you the documentation, but I have it all for the miracle we have submitted. So I'm very hopeful, but I'm going to follow up that query and see have they, because they've changed a lot of rules. Lay people can now work the causes, where when I started, I could do it because I was a canon lawyer, but because of a vested interest, I can't do it in our own. And therefore I'm dependent on a priest to finish it, and he's too busy. So these are the things I've brought up with the dicastery in Rome, and they'll say, look, we can't interfere with the bishop, but as soon as you get it to us, we'll really work to get it through quickly. So keep holding on to that, you know. So yeah, at the moment, medical evidence.
My
Okay.
question is
Yeah.
this expensive?
Oh
This
yeah.
process?
Pat, I'm very glad you brought that up because there's a lot of misconceptions around that. Yes, there was a time when bribery and corruption worked. You know, it was who you knew. That's an Irish way of putting things. Who you knew, and if you paid enough money, you could push the things through in Rome. But Pope Francis has totally cleaned up the financial act of the Vatican in the case of causes for saints. And in fact, when I was submitting the case to the diocese, I also had to inform Rome and I had to make an initial deposit. But I was given a sheet of every expense that needed to be covered. And I want you to know the expense is for paying for our lay people who are working in these areas. My biggest expense to date has been the medical, the doctors who gave me the initial thing, and then the two very well worldwide known experts in this particular area of brain surgery. So I know it's very transparent now, but I also know it wasn't always like that. Okay. Yeah.
She's blessed.
Yeah.
What's the process after that?
Yeah.
Then?
This very same process again to have another miracle for canonization. But because we're a historical case, we really believed that one might get it through for us. And I still hold on to that belief. But I submitted the case on the 15th of December 2019, just before COVID as it happened. That was another complication. But I have continued. I had to gather evidence of worldwide devotion to Mary Ward. Now that has exploded. I have to show people who pray to her. I have to show evidence of what we call miracles or cures. But I now have 92 cases where people tell me they were cured because of prayer to Mary Ward or different things happened. I'm 92. So I built up this huge file. I had to get bishops and cardinals to tell me they supported the cause. And I think every place where we are here and in Canada, all those bishops wrote beautiful letters about the Mary Ward charism and the way it continues today. So I've been doing all that work. So I had another miracle, which I got medical evidence, but I suppose maybe I'm judging it too harshly, but I think that it's not strong enough for the Vatican. So I just keep at it, trying to refine it down. So what I'm saying is the work has continued, and I would hope that the second time round wouldn't take so long, but it's the same process. Okay. The miracle. Yeah.
Some years ago, I was in Florida and part of my work was mission with the hospital system down there. And one of the things that I worked with was Dr. Herbert Benson from Harvard University. And he was doing open heart surgeries for folks and doing, blind studies, etc. And what they were finding, and if you read the studies, is that people were praying for a particular person and people that were not praying, which one healed the fastest? And one of the things that came out was the people with the prayer, the intentional prayer.
Yeah.
Somewhere maybe we could work something out with folks
Well,
that are doing something in the medical field.
Yeah.
For prayer, that's a major type of.
Thank you for that. And actually, it's funny the way God will push you in ways that you don't know where it's going. One of the things I did when I was submitting that case, I got people all around the world to tell me what Mary Ward meant to them. And that's what I found. So many people turned to her in whatever kind of need that they had. you know, and that this devotion to her enabled people to keep going. But I'd follow that up to, you'd send me the link for that Harvard study. Yeah. But it's just, yeah, but I've now some medics. In fact, I had a very extraordinary experience. They told me in York, that's going back about a year ago, that one of the sisters, or one of the, I don't know, maybe it was one of the collaborators, there was this elderly gentleman walking around, and he seemed to be terribly interested in Mary Ward. So somebody approached him and said, look, can I help you? And he said, I have discovered this woman through my work. He was a doctor. And he said, I just really want to find out more about her. And I said to myself, gosh, I wonder, is he one of the people that was consulted in the country in which we were working? Do you know, like he'd come to York to find out who is this woman they're all talking about, do you know? So I'm constantly coming across things like that, do you know? And like for people like you, Mary Ward is very alive and active. But when I meet people who don't know her and who come to know her, same thing I see here, the buzz and the excitement, you feel it again. You know, I just keep coming back to this. How is it after all these years that she is more alive and active even than she was? And it's a gift of God. And you know, the church defines religious charism. Every religious charism is the gift of God to the church. That's what St. Teresa said. Mary Ward was the gift of God to the church. I rest my case. If I could only convince the powers that be.
Liz, in the final phase, who are the decision makers? Who in Rome actually is involved in the final decision?
Okay. Well, the first stage was when Mother Immolata was gathering all the evidence. And there's a commission called the Theological Commission, and there's another one called the Historical Commission. And everything she said and everything that was said about her had to be examined because she had been excommunicated, so they had to double check. So the first lot of people who made decisions were at that level, but then that had to be agreed by the Pope, and it happened. Then the next thing, when a miracle happens in a diocese, it is the tribunal that's set up by the bishop that make the decision. Yes, we think there's a miracle here. And then it comes back to me, and I can add in all the other things that have happened in the years I've been waiting for them to finish. And then I bring it to Rome. Now, what happens in Rome is that in the dicastery, there is a committee and they examine the case. And if they agree, yes, this did happen, then we've two decisions. In canon law, you always need two conforming decisions, is what they call it. And then it goes to the Holy Father. Now, we knew Francis was more than willing to make her a saint. I would hope that Pope Leo might be in the same track. Yeah, he's a Chicago man. And Peru. And we're very strong in Peru. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Yvonne. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah.
I have the great honor to introduce some people important to this process, but before I say that, I will cut myself a little bit short and just say that if we look around and we see significant people, all of us, we all belong, we are all cherished, and the reason I'm here and all the sisters are here is because we felt something special in the charism of Mary Ward. And the reason you're here is because you know some of us, or you've gone to school with us, or you see something in that charism. But in a very real way, We're all here because of something special. And when I thought it was important to highlight that significant legacy that Mary Ward left, you heard Dr. Sister Liz Cotter talk about that. We needed to figure out how we saw those gifts coming forth with us, working with us, living out the charism with us, because the charism does not belong to the IBVM or the CJ or whomever we're becoming. It belongs to all of us. And so I hope that you're woke to that reality. If not, wake up. All right, there you go. Now, I am honored to highlight those who were nominated for this very Spirit of Mary Ward Award. All the nominees, somehow we recognize that we want people to know about these people. Now, we gave 2 awards, but the other people, these are people you need to know. And I'm going to first share with you the committee that got this all started. Well, Megan did say I went into her office, and she was very gracious, she always is. And our leadership is always very supportive. So we want to make sure that they get some of the blame for this great gathering that we're having here. So just let me introduce for a moment the committee, the selection committee, the planning committee. I'm going to start with our amazing development team, the wonderful and amazing director, Megan Butel, who you heard from earlier. Megan. Laura Schmidt, who I call the cat lady. She's amazing as well. I don't know that they recognize you, Laura. You need to stand up, please. Thank you. She gets it all going. And then Juanita Redorn, the woman with the camera, but she's also the woman behind the books and all those, some other things. Sister Betty Crotty, she's also on our committee. Betty. Sister Arlene Ashek. She did that wonderful prayer. Sister Kay Foley. Now, not everybody know who you are now, sisters. You got to make yourself known. Sister Mary Carton. And Sister Yolanda Mendoza. Yes. So we had a really hard time, discussing and reading and going back and forth, but we came together. We're a great lot. I have to say that myself. I was on the team too. Give me a hand. Just joking. Okay. Together, we dreamed this event into being. It was meant to be a celebration. No, we're all getting on in age. We need many, many times opportunities to celebrate one another, the charism that's alive in this room today. Okay, so let me just introduce the nominees. And I'm not going to mention the awardees. They'll have their own introductions. Ann Baltzar-Schoff from California was nominated. Avis Clendenin, I might say a few things extra on the people that I know. Avis Clendenin, who's right over here. Would you please stand up, please? Oh, the most creative and knowledgeable pastoral care person you ever want to meet. She has played Mary Ward in the real sense of the word, and she kind of looks like Mary Ward a little bit, but such a wonderful example for the sisters right now, especially in Mercy Circle. And we have some representatives here from Mercy. And so thank you for the support and the life-giving pastoral care that you bring to the community. I want to also introduce you to once upon a time sister, but a woman that left us and she went home to God, Grace Creighton. She was a nominee. Come on, give it. Grace Creighton is resting in glory. She is a former IBVM, but I hate to use the word former because she never left. Just like you're sitting here by our side, she used all of her life's work and influence to continue the IBVM vision, legacy, and dream. Grace Creighton, she's a person you should have known in her life. Bill Durborough, am I saying that right? Durborough. Bill is a companion in California, and he is very involved in doing service work. And that's someone you should, Sister Mary Carton can tell you a little bit about what's going on with him. Linda Fischetti, she's also a companion and a principal in Arizona. And she is taking over the helm, I think, from Sister Rayfield, and is doing a wonderful job. And they just thought she just really shines with the Mary Ward spirit in her work. Now, there's another one here, Jennifer Schmitz. Oh my goodness. Jennifer, okay. So Jennifer goes way back. She used to coordinate the companion program, but she's more than that. She's right by us. You have an idea, you bring it to her, and there's some way we're going to make that happen. And she is just one of our, and her husband too. He's her sidekick in this. He gets dragged into it. Jennifer, companion, yes. Rosemary Severino is a neighbor of ours from Wheaton. And her husband was the doctor for many of our community members, but a real support, one of those people. And again, many of us here the same way, right alongside. I told all my family they have to come. So this happens, you have to show up, right? A big part of it is just simply showing up and being who you are. And one of those values will shine forth, okay? And Madonna Thielen, she is an amazing friend of many of us that met her at the Unity Catholic Days, former Cincinnati Dominican, but a real collaborator. She was a big help to us on the Eleanor Holland Memorial Golf outing, but continues to do that. She always shows up. She's on a cruise. I'd rather be there. Okay. And then we have, of course, the wonderful Andy Wells. All right. Okay. Get up on those 2 feet, Andy. All right. See, Andy just had his knees done. Now we're companions in titanium. Anyway, we want to keep Andy and his wife in prayer, but Andy is one of these all-purpose Mary Ward men. Okay, we have Mary Ward men. I just want you to know that. And then Patricia Winkler, I don't know her very well, but she was nominated a couple times by one of our sisters who's gone to God, Sister Vivian. She is a relative, and she continues this Mary Ward work in her nursing career. So this is a wonderful thing that we can consider, that any one of us, look around. Next time when Megan sends out an appeal to nominate someone, you see those gifts in them. It is important that we live out that legacy because it's alive now. Mary Ward 1600 didn't think she'd have a Belizean African-American woman talking anything about her. Maybe she wouldn't have thought of Italians, or maybe she wouldn't have thought of all of us who are so diverse in this room. We all belong somehow. So each of these individuals were nominated for this award, and they are in some way related to us as IBVMs, and they embody that Mary Ward spirit, and we want to highlight them. You will hear about the awardees in a few minutes, but I just would like to say thank you to them. I also want to ask the sisters who are here, if you know any of these people, the nominees who are not here today, or even the ones here today, just go up to them and just say, thank you for being with us on mission. Amen.
Mary Novotny is an ideal individual to receive the Spirit of Mary Ward Award, with her deep appreciation for Mary Ward's heroically virtuous life and legacy to the Loretto Sisters and the whole church. Mary is a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend, a companion on life's journey, and recently a proud grandmother. She and her husband Bill are parents of 4 adult children who are alums of St. Simon and Jude School, and the family has been a precious gift to our St. Simon and Jude Parish family and our Loretto Sisters family. Mary is a very active member of the St. Simon and Jude chapter of St. Vincent de Paul and gives herself tirelessly in helping our brothers and sisters who need assistance for their very daily bread and living. She gives generous help and time with the Kino Border Initiative, a program helping migrants on their entry at the border, people in dire need of food, shoes, clothing, basic comfort, and welcoming smiles after their long and perilous journey to hope for a better future. Mary has been serving and continues to serve as the leader of the Companions of Mary Ward Group in Arizona and has done this for many, many years. Her aim is to spread the news about the beautiful life and work of Mary Ward as much as possible. Mary has attended Mary Ward workshops and has a tremendous desire to learn more and share what she has learned. She continues to read and study and grow in her own faith and spiritual life. Mary has had more than her fair share of struggles and challenges, but has overcome these with her faith in Jesus Christ. Mary is a very genuine person. She is by nature a shy and very humble woman. She has the kindest heart and is always ready to reach out to others and to share her journey. She is a real community builder. Mary Ward had many wise sayings which she passed on to us, her followers. She said, "Do good and do it well." She said, "Lord, make possible by your grace that which is impossible for me by nature." She said, "We should be such as we appear and appear such as we are." She also said, "Love God much and remember to give thanks often." I believe that Mary Novotny lives these wise sayings on a daily basis. She knows Jesus Christ, her guide and strength, and Mary Ward, her friend and companion. Mary, would you come forward, please? Congratulations, Mary. May you continue to carry the spirit of the Loretto Sisters and Mary Ward with you always.
Well, sister, I'll just go down. Sister was right. Yeah, kind of shy. First of all, I want to thank you for this. I'm very, very humbled by it. I can't even believe I'm standing up here receiving this. So I just thank you. I have a deep, deep gratitude for all the Loretto sisters, especially the sisters in Phoenix. The ones that are living and the ones that have gone before us. I need to mention Sister Christine and Sister Gabby, who kind of made the road for me, I guess. But all the sisters have really, they've taught me about Mary Ward. They've taught me about her charisms, and they've taught me about her spirituality. And they nourish that in me, and they nourish it in all the companions and the friends and the associates, whatever, anyone who connects with them, the sisters nourish that. And I've met so many sisters on my little workshops and things like that, that I just felt nourishment from them. And so I'm just appreciative beyond belief. See, I get these freezing moments. But I want to thank you all, and I'm just very blessed to be a companion of Mary Ward. And I just want to draw more people into becoming companions, because it really is very, very special. So thank you for this.
Sister Kay Foley will now present our next award.
What an honor it is for all of us to be here today. We need this. We are in a community of people who have like values and who need each other. So that's what I see in Mary Novotny, who I've known from Arizona, and of course for Marianne Solorio, who actually at one time I was her boss, and then we turned over and she became my boss. And so we kind of mixed together really well. And she taught me so much. And she even had me speaking a little French, not French, Spanish. But anyway, it's such a wonderful thing to be here today, to see two dedicated women embodying the spirit of Mary Ward have traveled from far and wide to allow us to convey our appreciation for their ministries and spirited missions. Both Mary Novotny and Marianne Solorio walk and talk the Mary Ward spirit. So much so that they could be called galloping girls, just as Mary Ward's young sisters were in the early days. I'm going to repeat something that Sister Liz began with. My question is, what is the spirit of Mary Ward? Well, it's spelled out really well in our Constitution 1.11. I'm going to read it slowly, and I want you to let something run through your mind about these charisms. So here's Mary and here's Marianne. A great love of God, a desire to do good, an attitude of openness to all good work, a freedom to refer all to God, and a readiness to follow the way of justice and sincerity in lightness of spirit. There's where the joy is. This is the charism that Mary Ward desired to shine through all our works and words. I can see and I can experience Mary Ann and Mary and these charisms as they move forward each day and calling others to come in with them. Now Marianne, it's your turn to receive the 2025 Mary Ward Award. You are probably sitting in your seat and wondering, why me? Why me? What did I ever do? And how did all this happen, really? Well, I'll try to do my best in answering your questions. Marianne, I want to acknowledge the valuable input
from those who shared your experiences and insights with me. What a treasure that is for you. They're your colleagues, your friends, all those who have grown to know and love you as you moved along the journey. Hopefully you'll be able to read what they had written about you. You might need a box of Kleenex beside you. Every word that was written spoke of love, of your family, your love of South Chicago. A lot of people wonder, where in the world is South Chicago? But Mary Ann has that love of South Chicago, and I grew into it too when I would drive over there every Monday. It was a real gift to me. Your love of Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, where you ministered as Director of Religious Education. Your work with Sister Mary Howard at the Metropolitan Family Services in South Chicago that has grown quite a bit. And in that place, you were assisting women advance in the learning of English and addressing every need that came along the way. Thank you, Mary Howard. Where are you, Mary Howard? There she is. Thank you, Mary Howard, for bringing Mary Ann to Mary Ward Center to be the director of Mary Ward Center. And now it's grown up to be how many years? 2014. Yeah. And the wonderful 25th year anniversary that we experienced, it was so hopeful and fulfilling, and it was just a great experience. It gave a lot of hope. You are a gem to us in so many ways, and we love you. We thank you, and we say, come on, Mary Ann, bring some more of those wonderful women that come through the door, and you're always there to welcome and say, come on in. Mary Ann, please come forward and accept your memory for you and for all of us. So congratulations, Mary Ann. Thank you. May you continue to carry the spirit of the Loretto Sisters and Mary Ward with you always. And thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. For those of you who know me very well, you know when I received that call from Megan, I panicked. And I tried very hard to be in the back, up against the wall, and it did not work out. So I came prepared today. First, I just want to thank everyone for today. Always, when we gather as Mary Ward men and women, I grow as an individual, and I hope I share that with all that I continue to do at Mary Ward Center. But today, words can never express my gratitude for this acknowledgement. As I look around this room, like has been mentioned before, I see a room that's filled with women and men that I know bring the spirit of Mary Ward to the people that they meet and they serve every single day. For me, it's not difficult to be a Mary Ward woman because I am surrounded by Mary Ward people. People who every day show me how to make a difference in this world, a world in desperate need of tolerance, acceptance, healing, hope, and love. In my small way, I add to what you all are doing as well. And together I believe we are and will continue to bring healing, peace, love, and hope to our communities and to our world. Thank you for today. I am humbled and I am filled with gratitude. I am grateful for our IBVM sisters for their continued support and for continuing to show us how ministry should be done. I am grateful to our development team for their support, energy, laughter, their hugs, and making everything work. I am grateful for JPIC for sharing their ministry with Mary Ward Center families and with our Southside community. I am grateful to all who had the vision and shared so much of themselves to begin Mary Ward Center. I am grateful for our amazing staff, our volunteers, our students who embrace the spirit of Mary Ward and the dream that opened our doors more than 25 years ago. I am grateful for those that will be part of the future, continuing to grow the dream that began Mary Ward Center. So today, I want all of you to know that this is going back to Mary Ward Center, and it will be for all of our past, our present, and our future staff, volunteers, students, and families who have and will continue to walk in the footsteps of Mary Ward. Thank you so very much.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. We recognize these two wonderful women, but we also recognize the gift of each one in this room. So as we near the close of our program, we invite you to support our charism and mission of freedom, justice, integrity, and joy as we live it out together. If you haven't yet had a chance to give, make an investment in our work together, here is a meaningful moment. You knew it was coming. Get ready. Gatherings always cost something, and when it's not in the budget line, it is very significant. If you would like to direct a gift to a specific ministry, that's very welcome. Or if you prefer to just give and tell us where we should use it in whatever is the most need, we welcome your trust. Our goal today, this whole program today, was one of gratitude, recognition that we are all on this mission together. But we know that it always costs something to do good things. So, if you'd like to make a donation, that's a request. If you would like to make a donation, large or small, large is good, will be received with heartfelt thanks. Now, I would like to look toward my friend Jimmy. Jimmy, stand up. I would like you to demonstrate. There's a card, on an envelope on your table, and you can make a pledge if you have no moolah upon your person. And in the envelope, you just put right in and put your name, write it down, and the development office officers will gladly receive your envelope. Now, we make provisions for all things. Helen, I'm speaking it up. You can write on the envelope your name and whatever pledge you would like to give. We will be so grateful. Okay? You saw how Jimmy demonstrated that. Very good. Let us continue to celebrate one another, whether we have or we don't have. There's no haves and have-nots. Just that envelope to draw to your attention. Thank you so much, and I will hand it over.
Thank you, Brenda. I wish I could tell you some stories I know about Brenda. I want to tell them so bad. I can't. But Brenda is our mission and ministry director and just does a fabulous job at it. And today, this wonderful gathering was certainly enhanced by the music that started the program. The soothing tones. And Brenda was certainly a big part of that. And her nephew, who's sitting next to her, beautiful young man, Stephanie Tidwell, and also Cedric Tidwell. We appreciate your contribution to our gathering today. Our Spirit of Mary Ward winners are such models of the very essence of Mary Ward's hope for her Mary Ward family. Her hope that we would be one is 98% of the way. If you like sports, we're on the first yard line. It's probably about the third down. And on July 31st, we'll gather here in the Deutschland Chapel to send our vote to Rome for that vote on the merger. When you think of 416 years, we are living this historic moment. And it's just hard to get your mind and heart around that we are going to do this, but we are all going to live it. And I told Brenda that I get a little anxiety about it because I've told people how great the CJs are, and they are. They're wonderful Mary Ward women. But if anybody doesn't like it, they're going to blame it on me. And I get nervous about that. But we are moving, and it's going to be a great, great thing that's going to happen. I would ask Sister Liz to come forward now for a moment. So Brenda comes hopping in my office and tells me, Helen, Liz Cotter's coming from Dublin. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did you get her? What did we have to agree to get Liz to come? So Liz, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Thank you for inspiring us today with your words and for all that you've been sharing for us. And on behalf of the region, we thank you for the trip that you made to be here with us and for your very inspirational talk. We couldn't have had this event today without the great help of Bobby and Sean and the work that they did to get ready for this event. Thank you. And a special thanks to Cheryl Valdez and her entire housekeeping and service people that worked with us today. We're indebted to them. It was a wonderful experience and a great lunch. And thank you for being here, for your care for the Institute and for living the life that Mary Ward so wanted for all of us, not just for sisters, but for all of us. And I would like to close with a brief prayer. I know that we're all rushing home to watch the Mass from White Sox Park today, so I would just like to end with this brief prayer. Gracious God, we are inspired by Mary Ward's passion for justice, integrity, freedom, and joy. We want to live with this passion in our serving and in our waiting, in our silence, and in our speaking. Certain of the Spirit moving in us, we walk together and offer ourselves in service to you through the people and events of our lives. Amen. Thank you again from all of us. Have a good day.